Hello everyone, so today I'm back with another video. This time it's going to be about concrete. I looked online and I couldn't find a lot of videos on this. Didn't really find any pictures, so this is kind of an idea I had just to try and do here in the house, and I'll show you right now actually what I'm talking about. So for the stair treads, I tried pouring. They're about 1.25 inch thick pieces of concrete. So I made the forms, poured them, and then installed them after. And I ended up chipping these on the side just to give it more of a rough look. And I'm still going to put a coat of epoxy on top of this, epoxy paint, because I didn't want the raw look. But if you did want the raw look, it's always an option. You just have to seal them, because you can see as they're already getting stained from us walking on them and stuff. So today I'm going to show you how to make these. I'm going to do these 5 steps, and I'm also going to do the window ledges in our basement out of the same type of concrete. It's going to be a little bit thicker, but same look. So I'll show you guys if you're interested on how to make these. You can make these really whatever width. I did a good amount of overhang. I believe that's almost 2 inches, and they've been holding up great. I will show you some of the key things to do to make sure that they will stay strong and you're not worried about them cracking or breaking, because I did have an unfortunate accident here with not keeping the slab wet for long enough, and it did hairline crack on me. But if you're going to paint them, it's not a huge deal. But if you want to have the raw concrete look, you'll definitely want to be aware. Okay, so as you can see, I already started doing this, but I will show you guys how I got to where I am now and then carry on from here. This part was generally the easier part, and all you do is you need to buy melamine, because melamine concrete will not adhere to. So when you pour it in here, then in a couple days when you take it out of the mold, it will come off easy. So all I did, you cut your base to size, your piece in the middle, and then you screw on the side your strips for how thick you want it. You have to calculate for how thick the melamine is and then how thick you want it. I did 1.25 inch thicknesses for my stair treads, and then screw them all down. Silicone all your edges here with a light bead of silicone, just to make sure that's not going to leak out, and it'll give it a nice rounded edge. And the thing is that's nice about this is that it's very hard to get a nice finish on top of the concrete. And since you're putting it in the melamine, it will come out with a perfect finish on the 4 sides and the bottom, which you can use as the top. So the bottom doesn't necessarily matter how smooth it is. This, I just was tapping this one to release some of the bubbles. So I'm still gonna smooth this one over, and then I'll put a piece of plastic on top of it just to keep the humidity in. So it will end up looking a little bit smoother than that, but these will be like perfectly smooth, just like the stairs you saw inside, because you use the bottom side for finishing. So what the procedure here is, it helps to have a concrete mixer. Unfortunately, I do have one, but if you have to mix by bucket, it's totally doable. It would really help to have 2 people. You'll definitely want to lay down a tarp on the floor or something, because no matter what, it's going to get messy. And I'll show you a video here of how I do a few, and hopefully this can help you out. Okay, so firstly you will want to mix your concrete. It helps to have a little bit of a slurrier mix. You want it a little bit watery. It helps it spread a little bit nicer. You're not too worried about how fast it cures. So if you can see that, you'll see when I pour it out, it's a little jiggly. You're going to want to fill your form in. Don't worry if you don't put enough, or you put too much, you can always scrape it out or add some more after. Then you'll want to just, doing your best, spread it in as much as you can evenly around. You don't have to worry too much about getting it in every corner very tight, because that's what tapping it after. We'll tap it with the hammer, or you can vibrate it with, if you have some sort of hammer drill or something like that. We have to put, and the key to keeping this strong is putting a little bit of rebar in it, and that's going to hold the concrete together, and you won't be so worried about it cracking. So what you want to do, any home improvement store should sell this. It's just a thin type of rebar mesh metal. And you want to cut it to maybe about, like, I gave myself about 1.5 inch room on either side, just so you're not going to push it in too close and then hit the edges and then see it after. So you just want to lay it on top. You can wiggle it in with your hand, or if you don't want to get dirty, just kind of try and make sure that you're getting it to about the middle of the slab here. And then once you get that down, you're going to more or less your final pass. You want to try and push down hard enough so that you can push on either side. It helps you screed it very easily. As you can see here now, once we just finished screeding the top, it's not too smooth, and that's nothing to worry about right now because the concrete is still wet. Once it dries, you'll want to come back after, give it a nice little smoothing out. And again, it's not too much to worry because this is the bottom, so you're not too concerned about it. But what you want to do after you get to this stage, you don't want to wait too long. You want to help release the air bubbles and let the concrete flow. So you can take something like a mallet, and as you can see when I'm going to start tapping, you can start seeing there's going to be air bubbles releasing inside the concrete. And you're going to want to do this for, I don't know, maybe 2 minutes per each piece about this size. And you can see here that the air pockets are starting to release, and that's what gives you a nice smooth finish after, because you don't want any big air pockets underneath when you take your forms off. And for those of you that have a hammer drill or something that has a hammering function, you can put a bit on it, put it in the hammer mode, and this will save you lots of time and a little bit of hand aches. You're just going to want to put it up inside the form and vibrate a little bit. And you can see the bubbles already releasing. It's a lot quicker than tapping it, but if you don't have it, tapping it works just fine. Okay, so now we have all the slabs poured. We vibrated all the slabs. Now we're just going to let them all harden up a little bit, and we're going to come back. And I'm going to come back every 20 minutes and check on it and see how it is. And you can tell, and I will show you in the video, when you trowel over it, it should stay smooth. If it's getting really watery and it's not smoothing out, you got to wait a little longer till it hardens up a little bit and you can get a nice trowel finish on it. So just keep watching it. It also depends how wet you mixed it, so just keep watching it, keep over it. At this point though, you're pretty much there. You just have to let it harden, trowel it smooth, and then let it harden for a few more days, and then in a few days you're going to take it out of the molds and then let it harden for another few days, and then you're good to install. I will show you guys that I also did this same method. Obviously it's a little bit thicker, but to do countertop. So you'll see the type of finish you get when you take it out of this mold is very, very, very smooth, and it's perfect for countertops. So I used it in my bathroom. We made a vanity out of it. I can show you guys after, and it turns out really, really nice. You just want to make sure that it's a little bit thicker than this. These are a little thin, but there'll be support under the whole thing, and there's not much of an overhang. The more overhang you want, the thicker you can go, and there's no limit to how thick you want to go, but I really wouldn't recommend going thinner than 1.25 inches. But if you get a little bit stronger concrete, you could potentially go up to 1 inch, but I wouldn't like to see going much thinner than that. But again, this is your project. It's up to you what you want to do. Okay, so it's been about an hour since I poured the first ones. I took the time to clean the mixer, clean all the tools. Now we can come over to the first one that we did. And you can see it's already getting a little dry. It's drying up, and me knowing that I'm using this and I will never see underneath this, I'm just gonna go at it now, flatten it a little bit nicer, and then let it dry. I'm not going to worry about putting plastic bags in here because this is a heated garage and I'll keep it at a cooler temperature. If it's really warm where you are, you might want to look into putting plastic bags over it just to keep the moisture longer so it doesn't set up too quick. But what you're going to want to do, and you'll see this will vary how long you let it dry for, how wet it is. So this is still very wet at the moment. I may even come back in a little bit, but you can see we're just trying to get it a little bit flatter just so that we're not going to have issues when we're installing this, that it's going to be too bumpy underneath. Just something like that, just knocking down those bubbles. Just very lightly right now. You can wait a little bit longer and you can get more firm with it, and you could finish this as smooth as you want. Really, you could finish it to a finished grade level. Totally up to you. For my situation, it's really not going to matter in final product. So something like that I would be very happy with. And now, depending on the concrete you use, I just use standard quick grade concrete from Home Depot. I think it's $8 a bag or so, yellow bag. I'm gonna leave this for at least probably 2 days, and then on the second day I will take them out of the forms. I will show you guys that, and I will just flip them over, let them dry a little bit for a few more days, and then look at installing them. You just don't want to rush it too much and accidentally crack one and have to go back and make it again. Now the cool thing about these forms, although I am not reusing them, you can reuse them. You can make just 1 or 2 and keep reusing them and reusing them if you don't want to make so much, and that will really significantly help in the overall price and the budget, as the concrete is not super expensive, but there's a lot of labor involved. You're definitely going to need probably like a table saw or track saw to rip all of these pieces to get them to the right length, and just a drill and maybe a miter saw, and you could get this done yourself. If you are very eager, you could definitely use a circular saw. You just might want to have some sort of track for it. And yeah, so I will show you guys in 2 days what the tops look like. Okay, so here we are. This is about 2 days after pouring. I came back about 5 hours after I poured these and hit it with this metal trowel here. Just something to give it a little bit of a smoother finish. You can see it's not perfect, but again, this is the bottom, so this will definitely do. It's still very nice and smooth. So at this point, when it's been about 2 days and you can see it's pretty dried up, you can start taking them out of their forms and potentially flip them over. And if you're in a hot climate, you can mist them with some water just so they don't crack. You can see I took one apart here. So you just gotta rub the silicone off, but if you can see, it is super, super, super smooth. Very little bubbles in it, and that's the key to vibrating it as much as you can, or tapping it with that hammer or hammer drill, and that's how you get all those big bubbles out. So this piece came out really nice. And I'll take one apart here so you guys can see how I do it. If you do these larger slabs, it's definitely going to be helpful to have 2 people to flip it over. They are pretty heavy, and you don't want to put too much pressure in the middle and let them snap. So, okay, so don't mind my sweatpants. It's the weekend for me here, but you're just going to want to go around and take every single screw out, and then the side pieces should just very easily pull off. Okay, so once you get all the screws out, if you have a few stubborn ones, you can probably just pull it off if you're not trying to reuse it. I will give you the advice that I did not do. Try to clean up what you spill over, because it gets in the screws and then it's really hard to take off after. But then, shouldn't be too hard. If you have to pry it, don't pry it with something like metal, because you might chip the edge. As you can see, it comes off very easy. There we go. Now once they're all out, you can kind of take your time to clean this edge a little bit. I'm personally gonna, and I will show you guys when I install this, I'm gonna chip my edges so it looks a bit more rough, almost like a stone. But however you want to finish it. And so here, once you get it all off, you're going to slide it a bit back. It should not be stuck at all. It does not adhere to that melamine, so it comes off very nice. Take it. Just try not to put too much pressure in the middle of it. Always try and support it when you put it down. closer look. Very minimal air pockets in it. This silicone sometimes could be a pain. I rushed it a little bit and the silicone wasn't totally dry before I started. But again, I'm gonna chip all my edges so that it looks a bit more rough. If you do want to just have this nice rounded over finish, just let your silicone harden up before you pour the concrete for whatever the recommended time is on the bottom. Okay, so once you get your concrete taken out of the forms, mine's down there, you can start by making sure that your area is going to be flat where you're putting it. I'm using PL, just the basic one, to stick these down. They're so heavy that you're really just trying to make sure that it's solid underneath. You can also use thin set, which I would probably recommend. I just didn't feel like mixing up thin set. But you're going to want to give it a generous amount because the concrete's pretty heavy, so it will squeeze a lot of this glue around. Make sure you get all the edges. For my size stair, I'm using about a full bottle per stair. And then once you get all the edges, I usually do a zigzag pattern in the middle just to make sure that you're going to get good adhesion under it. This is my last stair, I'm just going to use the full bottle here. And now here's the part where I would definitely recommend having two people, but I did these by myself, you just need a bit more patience. So you're going to want to get your piece, depending how tight you made them, they could be very hard to fit in. Mine are unfortunately very tight. So you're going to want to get your one end in, work your other end down. As you can hear how tight that is. First thing you're going to want to check is your level this way, because usually this will be the one that's off. So usually it'll be tipping this way, and if you're doing this outside, you might want a little bit of lean just so that water flows off, but for indoor, you're going to want to go as level as you can. So you're just going to have to play with it, squeeze out some of the glue, move it around until you get it to the spot where you like it. Your level across, which is perfect. Okay, so as you can see, the staircase is all done. I finished this last night. Should be good to walk on now. There's the dog. Turned out awesome. I'm still watering these every couple hours just for the next few days, just to make sure that they don't crack. I did not take videos installing these, but these are installed the exact same way as the stairs. These are the window sills. They actually turned out really awesome. They look really cool, and they actually give you a lot of space to put stuff on top of there if you want to put plants or anything. You can do much more of an overhang if you want. This is how much we did there. You can even make them come out to the side if you want. Just spend a little bit more time when you're making them. You could see here we did another one. I just have some weights on there holding it down for now. Really cool look. You definitely need to seal these with some concrete sealer, but you want to leave them for about 2 or 3 weeks to dry, depending on the concrete you use. I will show you the other 2 larger pieces that we did. They turned out really awesome. Super hard to get in, very heavy, but if you have a few people, 2 people, you should be good. These ones turned out awesome. Really, really big. Really cool way of doing this. Again, if you had to look at an alternative in doing like a marble or even a quartz stone, getting it cut, this will be a very, very expensive piece. Although the concrete is not very expensive, it's a bit of work to do it all, but I think it is really worth it. Here you can see in our theater room. We got this one in. Looks really awesome. Super nice and thick size there. I would be very comfortable extending it farther out if you wanted to. Give you a lot of shelf space. Very nice and solid feel. So that's it, guys. Thank you for watching, and I will be posting more videos, so hopefully keep your eye out for those, and we'll see what comes up next. Anything you guys are interested in, leave comments, or if you guys want me to go into more detail on how to do certain things in this project, just let me know. And that's about it. Thank you for watching.